In a small village nestled deep in the African countryside, two families lived side by side. The first family, humble and struggling, was made up of Amani, a bright young boy, and his mother, Mama Amani. Despite their poverty, Amani was known throughout the village for his sharp mind and his exceptional performance in school. Every teacher admired his intelligence, and it was clear to everyone that he was destined for greatness. On the other side of the village lived another family, much wealthier, with a large house and plenty of land. This family had a son, Musa, but despite all the resources his family could provide, Musa struggled in school. His mother, Mama Musa, couldn't understand how her son, with all the tutors and support money could buy, could still perform poorly, while Amani, with nothing, excelled beyond belief. As fate would have it, Amani and Musa were the best of friends. They grew up together, played together, and despite their differences, shared a bond that no one in the village could break. But their friendship came with complications. Mama Amani, though grateful for Musa's friendship with her son, was wary of his family's wealth. She often told Amani to be careful, not out of envy, but because she feared the power wealth could wield over her son's future. On the other hand, Mama Musa despised Amani's family. Every time Amani's name was mentioned, a bitter resentment rose within her. She couldn't understand how a boy from a family that barely had food on the table could outshine her son, who had everything. That resentment often spilled over into the way she treated Amani's family. She would make snide comments about their poverty, refuse to help when needed, and behind closed doors, she often blamed Amani for making Musa feel inferior. Years passed, and the boys finished high school. The day the exam results came out, the village was buzzing with excitement. Amani, as expected, had done extraordinarily well. In fact, he had not only topped the national exams, but also received a full scholarship to study civil engineering abroad. It was the kind of opportunity that could lift his family out of poverty forever. But the news of Amani's success did not sit well with Mama Musa. While the village celebrated Amani's achievements, she boiled with anger. Musa's results had been dismal, despite all the money spent on his education. She couldn't bear the thought of her son's best friend going abroad, leaving Musa behind in shame. On the day Amani was set to leave for the airport, he decided to visit Musa one last time to say goodbye. The bond they shared was strong, and despite Mama Amani's warnings, Amani couldn't leave without seeing his friend. As Amani arrived at Musa's house, Mama Musa forced a smile and invited him inside. Her eyes glinted with something dark as she welcomed him into the living room. Musa was excited to see his friend, and they sat together, chatting about the future, unaware of the storm brewing in the heart of the house. Mama Musa, however, had a plan. She couldn't stand the thought of Amani leaving for a prestigious university while her son stayed behind. In her mind, she believed that if Amani were out of the picture, Musa's failures would no longer feel so painful. So, she decided to act. She went into the kitchen and prepared 2 cups of porridge, a common gesture of hospitality in the village. 1 cup, meant for Amani, was larger and laced with poison. The other, for Musa, was smaller and safe. When Mama Musa returned, she handed the larger cup to Amani with a forced smile. "For you, Amani, my son," she said sweetly, though her heart pounded with dark intentions. As the boys sat, laughing and talking, Amani glanced at his watch. Time was moving quickly, and he needed to leave soon. "I need to finish this porridge quickly," he said, looking at Musa. Without a second thought, they decided to switch cups, as Musa had already finished most of his. Amani thought it would be faster if he just took the smaller cup. They switched, laughing at the silliness of it. Neither of them had any idea of the deadly consequences. Minutes later, as the porridge settled, Musa began to feel dizzy. His face turned pale, and he slumped in his chair, gasping for breath. Amani, shocked and terrified, quickly realized something was horribly wrong. He rushed to his friend's side, screaming for help. Mama Musa, who had been watching from the kitchen, froze. Her plan had gone horribly wrong. Her own son had consumed the poison. Amani, without wasting a second, lifted Musa onto his back and carried him to the nearest clinic. Tears streamed down his face as he prayed for his friend to survive. He missed his flight, but that was the last thing on his mind. All he could think about was saving Musa. At the clinic, the doctors worked tirelessly to flush the poison from Musa's system. Hours passed, and it wasn't clear if he would make it. Amani stayed by his friend's side, refusing to leave until he knew Musa would survive. Days later, Musa finally woke up, weak but alive. Amani breathed a sigh of relief, grateful that his friend had been spared. But something still gnawed at him. How had this happened? The truth came out not long after. Guilt weighed heavily on Mama Musa's heart. She had been unable to look at her son in the hospital, knowing what she had done. Eventually, she broke down and confessed to everything. She admitted that she had poisoned the porridge meant for Amani, hoping to stop him from leaving for his bright future. When the village learned of her confession, shock and outrage spread. But Amani, in a show of grace and compassion, forgave her. He stood before the villagers and declared that he harbored no ill will toward Mama Musa. "I understand that pain can make people do unimaginable things," he said softly, "but I will not let that pain turn into hatred." With that, Amani rescheduled his flight. The village gathered to see him off, amazed by his resilience and kindness. Musa, still recovering, stood by his side, grateful for the friend who had saved his life despite everything. Amani left for his scholarship abroad, and while he soared to new heights, Mama Musa was left to live with the guilt of her actions. Though the boys remained friends, the weight of what she had done never left her. Musa, now fully aware of his mother's dark deed, distanced himself from her bitterness, choosing instead to live with the grace and humility that Amani had shown him. And so, Amani's story became one of forgiveness and triumph. Despite the challenges thrown in his path, he rose above them, and the bond between the two boys, forged through adversity, remained unbreakable. As for Mama Musa, she lived the rest of her days in the shadow of her guilt, a reminder that jealousy and hatred only breed sorrow. The story of Amani and Musa is a testament to the power of forgiveness, and how even in the face of betrayal, love and friendship can triumph over darkness.